2, 3. Okay. So assumption of art. So what is art? What is art? What do you think is art, guys? So there are a lot of assumptions of art. One is that it is bad, like for Plato. For Plato. Yes. Where are you? Wait, I cannot see you. Where did you go? Yes, what did you say? An expression of oneself. Yeah, that is true. What else? What is art? What do you think is art? Anyone? Thank you, June. Yes, Kyle.
Now for me, art is creative freedom.
Yes, it is creative freedom. That's true. What else? Anyone? Yes, Montgomery.
I is a meaning of expression of a human history that skills plus skills and imagination through history.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yes.
Catherine.
Ma'am, for me, what I understand about art, it's an imagination of oneself.
Yes, that's true. Imagination of oneself. Ooh, that's deep. Okay. Joaquin?
I think it's a creative form of human expression and is described as a highly diverse range of human activities engaged in making visual, auditory, or perform artifacts.
Oh, that's deep. Creative expression. And then you also said human artifacts. Hmm. Okay. That's good, Joaquin. What else? Anyone? Arnulfo said product of creativity of one's curiosities and preferences. Curiosities and preferences. That's good. And then Julian said a reflection of one's surroundings. That's also good. That that is also like what Aristotle said. Okay. Okay, anyone? Meron pa?
A translation of one's emotions and thoughts into some form of creative format.
Ooh, now we're going to psychology now. Okay. That's good. That's really good. Okay. What else? Anyone? That's very good class. Okay. I'm glad. Okay, let's go back. So, um, so we have a lot of definition of art. But one thing about art is that there is no specific definition because art is an umbrella term. Um, but there is a thing that saying that art is universal, art is cultural, art is not nature, and art involves experience. So, ma'am, what does this mean? That art is universal, art is cultural, art is nature, and that art also involves experience. Isa-isahin natin to. So, when you say art is universal, it means that art has always been timeless and universal because when you look at art, it doesn't need um, a form of language. It is a form of language itself. When you look at art, you don't need to learn different kinds of words to understand it. For example, this one. When you see this one, you could see the expression of the face, but you could also see the um the tattoos, right? But all in all, you could see the photograph, how the face is cropped and how the face with the expression, you could say that it conveys a sense of feeling, a sense of cultural aspect, a sense of, an emotion that is trying to convey a message to you, right? So who can tell me what you think the man is conveying, or what message the man is feeling, or what message the man wants to say? What do you think, without saying anything? Guys, are you there? Yes.
Uh, it's he's because he's angry because
Yes.
kasi that's his emotional response.
Mhm.
That's why when when paintings were expressions of humans who are express their thoughts like angry, sad, and distressful.
Mhm. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Who else? Patrick. Yes.
Yeah, judging by the intensity of his expression, he's probably preparing to get to work or something like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna make babies or something like that.
All right. Why make babies particularly? So, but all right. Okay. Joaquin says that he's trying to intimidate his enemy. That could also be it. But for the cultural point of view, um, uh, tattoos are primarily put on someone, or in a cultural standpoint. Uh, People get awarded by, sorry, people get awarded by tattoos when they won something, or they survive, or they achieve a certain rank, or they made a heroic deed. So this man could be a warrior, right? And this man could be a chieftain or something like that. Or for example, this man could be um, dancing a heroic dance or a ritual. You don't know. That's why his expression that, right? But from his face, you could see that he is trying to convey something. But we all could feel, all, we all could tell that he is trying to be fierce, right? So in that way, even if he is saying nothing, we could sense na parang we have this sense na he is trying to be fierce, right? And for that, we could truly say that art is universal, because art is a universal language, and that and in fact, art was there even before language was formed, and before language was formed, art was there. It was the universal language, right? So before the language was formed, um, we had painting, sculpture, ceramics, music, right? When I say language, it is ano kasi, you have the diction, you have the grammar, that is part of a language. So language is a science to study. You have letters and stuff. So before all that, before people was learn how to write, before there was a whole thing called language, there was art. So that's why before there was a tone and stuff, there was art. So that's why art is universal. Even if you go to another country, if you bring an artwork from the Philippines, even if it's from the Philippines and uh, it's made from a katutubo, for example, it would be highly praised from there, and the um, the foreigners from the other country would really like it because for one it looks exotic, and for another reason is because they can feel something from it, and for that art is universal because even if they don't understand what it is or what it is trying to say, they can understand that it is an it means something culturally, and that it can evoke emotional response. So the important with this is that it says something and that it has an emotional response. So and that it doesn't need any language to say something, but it it can deliver a message without saying anything. So that is important. And that is therefore why art is universal. Gets nyo? Okay, that's good. Next slide. So art is not nature. So when you say art is not nature, it doesn't mean that art cannot be in nature. In fact, art is a reflection of nature. Sabi pa nga ni Aristotle na art is everywhere. In fact, um, art, we draw art from nature. Yung mga, we draw art from, we draw landscapes, seascapes, right? But art is not nature. Ibig sabihin nun, art is made by man. It's not nature itself because art is not nature. It is only a reflection of nature. At the same time, art is not nature because it art is how man or woman uh, how the artist reflects, how he or she reflects, how or he how he or she sees the world. That is why art is not nature. How the artist perceives or how the artist see the world around him or her, that is what is nature to him or her. Gets niyo ba? That is why sometimes art does not necessarily appeal to everyone. Sometimes for sometimes the art that the artist draw is not beautiful um or ugly to some people, but others like it very much, and for others they hate it because it is the kind of perception. What you're liking on art is the level of perception or the opinion of the person. So art is not nature because it's made by man. It's the perception or it's the opinion of a person that you're seeing, but in visual form, meaning it's the reflection of the person. Gets niyo ba? So, for example, if art is the mirror of how you see the world, that, or for example, you have a camera, right? You have a camera. You have a camera. So, if and then you go to the video. So, everything you take a video to, that is how you perceive the world, right? So, paano if what you take video of is um, pangit or ugly? You cannot change it because that is your world. So that is how you perceive your world, or that is your world. So, but that is art, that is your art, and that is the reflection of you, right? So if that does not appeal to other people, then who cares? That doesn't mean that it doesn't will not appeal to other people who have the same experiences. It because it will, but it just means that um, art is not nature, because um, art is not natural. It is not natural because it is how you perceive. It is the way you view your surroundings, like a camera or like a video camera, like that. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Gets niyo ba?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes po.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
that's good. So, another point is that art involves experience. So, there are other fields of science that involves knowledge, involves data. Um, um, Examples of these fields are computer science, um, medical technology, what else? Accounting, for example, engineering, what else? Wait, mahina yung, hindi naglo-load yung utak ko. Basta madaming fields that involves knowledge and data. But art is a knowledge, is known for experiencing. So basically, art is a form of science, or art is known for more known for um, honing skills. It is more of skill based than theory. Although there are theory involved in art, but it is more of honing the skills here. Kasi the field of art, when you say art, kasi it is, unless your art education, you are, or art theory, you are most or art history, you are more involved with um the skill side. So you have graphic arts, you have interior design, or you have um if you are a painter, you are an artist, for example, you are involved on, you need to hone your skills in order to apply them in the professional scene. So with this, art involves experience because you need to hone them in order to apply them. And at the same time, um, it is something that you need to actually do. And that, but here also, an art is not also limited to actually painting. It could also be it could also involve the five senses: see, hear, taste, feel, and smell. So, when you say art, it is not limited to visual art. It could also be music. It could also be cooking, for example, or what do you call it when you are involved in food? Culinary? No. Or yung pag-drinks, bartending. But if you're barista, I don't know. Um, Ayun, you could also be a barista, for example, or yeah, and then you could smell. I don't know. I don't know about the smell. Perfumery, or um or hear. hear music, taste, smell, touch. I don't know what is the sample of touch. Um, stuffed toys. I don't know, clothes, fashion. Ayun. So you have a lot. There's a lot. So, ayun. So that's why art involves experience. It involves practice, honing skills. So, and if you feel, if you're one of those people out there that believes that you are not good, if um, you feel that your art is like a child, don't worry. Um, everyone is like a child at some point. We grow. We grow. We just need some practice. We need some patience to grow. We just need to grow and be better. Some some people just needs more time. Some people are just very very fast, but some people just need a lot more time. But definitely, you just need more patience to yourself. Ayun. And then art is also a form of expression. So sa mga nagsabi dyan na art is an expression, of course it is a form of expression. It is a form of of how you perceive yourself, how you look at the world. It is like a video camera of how you see the world. So um at the same time, it is very at your hugot. You get your, if you have your uh bad emotions. I don't want to say shit, but all of you here are of legal age, right? So um if you have your bad shit inside, so you get it out and then put it on paper, or if you're into music, you put it into music and go bam 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 bam, and then eventually they go away. And well, we even did that experiment with using paintbrushes in middle school, no, elementary school, Manila High International School. Yeah, and it was awesome because eventually they were painting. They one of them commented like they changed from bad color to a very good color because while they were painting, they they said they said to one of the supervisors and to me that um, well, she realized that while she was painting that uh, um, she needed to change the color because while she was painting, she felt that her her mood changed, or that her mood uplifted while she was painting. But apparently, same thing when you're doing sports, when you're doing um, you're doing some kind of art form. And also sports is also some kind of art form. Also muscle building if you're into that. And um, what else? Cooking sometimes also cook. It's also good. And what else? Well, so art as a form of expression is also good. It helps you let things out. Is good. And apparently this one, the Scream by Edward Munch. It's a very good painting. It's one of my professor's favorite painting. I forgot why. It because it scares him, but apparently it is his favorite painting, even if it scares him. but yeah, it scares him. But it is his favorite painting. But but even if it is scary for him, it is his favorite painting. But the thing is, you shouldn't be scared of your expression, and that, or you shouldn't be scared of your feelings. So um if you have something deep, if you're into something really bad, or you're feeling something really bad inside, you just need to let it out. Maybe art could help you, or maybe a friend could help you. But if a friend cannot help you, and you just need to be alone, and then art could maybe help you let go of things. And yeah, and art is not just a form of language. It's not just it is not nature, and it could also be a part. It could also be as a form of expression. And so, and this is one of the examples of an expression. I'm not sure. I think I misplaced this slide here. I was looking for this in another subject. So, and this is about proportion, about perspective. Just sharing. And so, definition of art. So, uh, balik lang. Ayun, no, it's not misplaced. So, way before, way before, um, during the medieval times, or way before, um, they did not, the arts in the Middle Ages does not believe, the arts before is not really the arts what we know now. It's called grammar, rhetoric, dialectic, logic, arithmetic, geometry, astronomy, and music. So the arts before was um, grammar, rhetoric, dialectic, logic, arithmetic, geometry, astronomy, and music. That so the arts before was something about how the high class or the nobleman can be read, or it is only for the educated to learn something. Um, those who are actually skilled enough to draw, to paint, to make buildings, the architects, those who know how to make pottery and stuff, they are called the skilled, the worksmen. Those are these people. So, ayun. That's why. So, bakit ganon? So, that's why here is like this. So, let's go to the definition of art. So, the definition of art is way before is art as a skill or mastery. Art is a process or a product of creative skill. Art is a process of a product of a creative skill. Art is a universal language. art as a representation of reality. Art reflects the characteristics of a period, and art shows the manner of existence of the people of long ago. So, lahat ng sinabi nyo, totoo. So, art's a skill. So, you need, like I told you, you need to master something that you have. So, anyone can draw. I believe that anyone could draw. You just need to master that skill, and that it is also a process. You need to practice, 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 and art is also a product of the practice, and that it is a universal language because anyone could understand what you're trying to convey without the text and stuff. Sometimes, as long as you know their art that's really really good. Sometimes you need to just one look at it and you could immediately understand what it is. So again, and art is also a representation of reality. It is an opinion of what you see, how you see the world. So again, and sometimes art reflects the characteristic of the period. So you have your historical art, like your medieval art, your art, your period art, like Dadaism, your historical art and stuff. So you also have art that shows the manner of existence of people long ago, like your cave, your cave art, and you also have your um, prehistoric art, right? And and so just like I told you, um, before in the Middle Ages, um, they only think that art is a skill or a mastery. It is they only think that it is only a base skill or a mastery that is manifested in the outstanding product or endeavor. So they just think that I don't know if they're like being mata pobre or they're just like being high class and they look upon those who are, you know, um, those who are um, worksmen. It's just like today, like it's just like today that all those, yung mga pasosyal na yung just because they think that they have like a Gucci or something like that, and then they would look like, or they have like they come from a long weeded stuff of families, and then they look down on those who come from the slums and stuff like that. So it's it's the discrimination is there way before, but for the educated. So um so when they employ the skilled or the worksman to build their um, palaces, their churches, their parishes and stuff, but they don't refer to their craft as an art. They refer it as a skill or a mastery. But instead, they call geometry, logic, music as an art. Gets niyo ba? So, but yung totoo, the truth is, art is a process or a product of a creative skill. Because um, when you make art, there is a lot of process. Like for example, you need to draw a circle before you can make a head. You need to make another circle for the eyes. You need to make another circle inside the circle to make a pupil, and another circle for the iris. And you need to make another like what call this? Yung another group of lines for the eyelashes. See, it's a process. I make it sound so simple, but it's a lot of work. Especially if you want to make it look realistic. And art is also a product because it involves a lot of steps, even if you have to shade it and make it look realistic. Um, it also involves different activities, and especially if you want to show your emotive expression into it. For example, uh, if you want to be spontaneous about it, uh, have you tried abstract painting or just uh, painting through the music or listening something or just doing something just because you feel like it? How about playing the piano? Just ramming through the piano keys or strumming through the guitar just because you feel like it. At first, you don't even know what kind of keys you have to strum through the guitar. And thinking about it, at first seems like an awful, tiring job, but when you stop thinking about it, it seems so easy. But if you think more on how to organize and make a beautiful sound, that is a process, and the product of making it beautiful is the skill. And therefore, the product of it is a process, and the product is much more different and um, much more, what do you call it, um, tiring or much more harder than the usual. Wait, I'm just going to get my charger for my Mac. Okay. Okay. Where are we? So art, like I said, is a universal language. Um, just to add, art is not limited to visual art. Art could also be in literature, music, theater, for example. It could also be like theater in a form of ballet, music, for example. Um, art could also express feelings, ideas, shared by all individuals regardless of culture. So um, it is also universal because regardless of culture or language, there it can encompass that barrier, yung universal barrier or yung language barrier or cultural barrier. That's why it is universal. And then art is also a representation of reality because it acts like a reflection of or a mirror of reality. But there are a lot of debates regarding this as art as a representation of reality. But to be safe, uh, it depends on one's perspective na lang. Art is the representation of a reality of one's perspective. Kasi the reality of of the reality of one person to another person is different from the reality of another person. Gets niyo ba? So, ganun. Art reflects the characteristic of the period. Why is it like this? Weird. So, medieval period. So, you have this the church dominate ex- the the church dominate the wait lang I'm just gonna check. Masus. Okay. So, um, medieval period. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So,
Yes po.
medieval period. So, sorry, my slides are a bit weird. So, during the medieval period, the visual arts, kasi during the medieval period, backward kasi yung arts before. So, um, before there was the classical period, medyo 3D yung um, 3D yung look like ng period, right? So you have the look like yung Michelangelo, yung the Greek and goddesses na look alike, right? So medyo looking like 3D. But during the medieval period, parang naging backwards yung art before. And parang naging flat na yung figures. And naging, parang yung forms naging lacking yung focus on the material world. And this is because the dominance of the church initiated the expression of the spiritual truth. But in this example, art then reflects the characteristics of the period. So um, makikita mo sa artwork yung characteristic ng which kind of period the artwork comes from. So, for example, in a cave art, This comes from um, the ancient era before man came to be, yung mga Homo erectus, for example, before Homo sapiens um, came into, or Homo sapiens was evolved or into existence, for example. Um, and then you could, um, for example, yung mga stoneware, yung mga pots ng China, you could see yung mga pottery ng mga China. You could see which dynasty you could see which dynasty from looking from the pottery of China. You could see which is from the Ming dynasty, the dynasty, uh, Qing dynasty. Walang siya, di ba? Walang siya. It was a legendary dynasty. Tang dynasty, ganon. And the Ming dynasty, sinabi ko na yun. and then you could also ganon din with the Japan and the Korea also. And then you could also look at the trade route from the Silk Road from Japan and to the Korean, and see how the silk become more finer and more nakikita mo yun because of the art. And from the Western naman, you could see it from the visual art, although nag-iiba yung ano nila. And then from the India naman, makikita mo yun sa mga temples nila, how their temples change, yung mga um yung mga ganun nila sa temple. I forgot the name. Yung mga, kasi they have the Buddhist temples. They're popular with the Hindu. There are different kinds of temples in the India, in the Nepal, and the China temples. Kasi yung mga, di ba, during in the India Buddha, in the China, because there are different kinds of temples, di ba? Kasi they weren't, di naman sila sinakop. They weren't colonized by the Spanish and stuff. But they were, and when they were colonized, the Christianity wasn't propagated in that area. They were able to retain their religion. So they continued um, their culture and stuff like that. So they still have their temples, and you can see the differences of um, the Buddhist temple, the Taoism temple, the um, Taoism, Hinduism temple from India, Nepal, and they even have a Sikh, I cannot pronounce it well, Sikh temple, and you can see from different kinds of era how the shape of the temple itself from above can change, and also the topmost yung yung corners na parang patusok. I don't know what they call it. Yung parang patusok. Cone ba? I don't know. Pero may cones sila and stuff. And then the lotuses as well. And they have this dragon, and sometimes they have a nude figure na nag-aano dun sa all over the temples. So it's nothing bad kasi it's religion, and they believe on that. So ayun. Alright. Ay, natanggal ko. Sorry. Ay, hindi pala. Sorry. Ah, okay. So, ayan. So, wala, sinagot ko na. So, but, di ba ito yung arts before. So, why do you think um, they were so discriminatory against the low-level people? Why do you think people, only the people can um why do you think the arts can only be grammar, rhetoric, dialectic, arithmetic, geometric, and music? Why do you think only the high-born and the noblemen can only study these? Why do you think? Why isn't it open to everybody? Or is it open to everybody? Why do you think? Anybody? Guys, buhay pa ba kayo?
Yes, ma'am.
So, do you have any
Ma'am, I think maybe it has something to do with access to education and resources.
what do you mean?
Like, we mentioned arithmetic and geometry
Hmm?
and how only the highborn people can access it, perhaps because only the highborn can pay for such access.
That's one thing. What else?
Ma'am, this is because of the social classes. Yung different, yung malaking gap between the social classes before. Na you're only allowed to get or be able to study all of this if and only if you're in a higher class on the society.
Not really. There's no law before na not only the high classes can are able to study it, study them. So why do you think? Yes, Vaijo.
Maybe the people who don't belong to the upper class section of that specific community. Kasi nga mahal mag-aral nun, ma'am, like specifically significantly pricey siya no, na kailangan royalty ka or noble. Then, sa ano pa lang yun, sa tuition na pa lang yun, mahal na siya. Yung mga kailangan mo rin para pag-aralan yung gusto mong aralin, mahal din siya. Like sa music, kailangan mo mag-acquire ng instrument. Yung instrument is binibenta siya, or like pag nagpa-paint ka, kailangan mo ng paint, so kailangan mo rin siyang bilhin. Mga stuff sa geometry na kailangan mo, materials na kailangan mo in order to really study this field. It requires a lot of equipments that parang nobleman can afford but a commoner can't. Ayun.
Kaya, kasi tingnan mo, bakit tayo ngayon? Hindi naman lahat nakakapag-aral naman lahat. Tapos mas mahal ata yung gamit ng construction na before. Pero yung ano lang, yung difference lang is that sirit na ba? yung 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 ano kasi, ganito yan. Ako natawa sa joke. Ganito kasi, yung before, hindi naman sa ano kasi, nagtatrabaho rin naman kasi sila. So, meron silang pangbili. Although, mayaman naman talaga yung mga noble class and may madami lang kasi talaga silang time. Kaya nila. Yung skilled, wala lang talaga silang time. Although may pera sila, wala silang time. Kasi lahat ng gagamitin ng mga ano, ng mga noble class, yung royal and yung mga higher classmen, pinapagawa sa the skilled. So lahat ng pera ng mga noble classmen nasa skilled workers. Gets nyo ba? So hindi sa wala silang pera, meron silang pera. Kasi yung lahat ng oras nila, ano, ginagawa nila, pinapagawa nila. So, isipin nyo, wala pa silang machine before, right? So, lahat ng, so kung gaano kabilis ngayon, yung mga construction ngayon, isipin nyo before, wala silang makinarya before. So, wala silang machine before, wala silang forklift, wala silang, ano po bang ginagamit? Wala silang forklift, wala silang yung mataas na, ano, anong tawag doon? Yung mababa. Wala silang crane. Oh, di ba? Wala silang, ano bang nakakatakot sa ano sa construction? Wala silang elevator, wala silang escalator. Oh, wala silang pambuhat. Pero baka meron na silang lever. Oh. Wala silang mga ganon. Lahat before manual. Wala silang power tools. Wala silang electricity. Oh. So yung so kailangan wala silang ano, day lang sila ano, may araw lang sila kailangan ano, nag ang tawag nito, gumagawa. Bawal sila nag-overnight. Di katulad ng sa Manila. Tulog, wag nasa condo, tapos sa kabila may gumagawang building. Ano, kahit tulog na lahat ng sa kabilang condo, kailangan kahit ano, para lang matapos yung kabilang building, ano, o kailangan overnight pa rin para lang matapos yung kabila. Walang pasensya, di makatulog yung mga tao sa condo. Ganun yun. Hindi ibig sabi, iba before, walang parang ganung discrimination. May pera naman sila. Kaso, ano lang talaga, nahirap lang talaga yung buhay kasi wala silang ganung kadaming machines. Kundi lang naman kasi sila. I mean, di sila ganun kadaming tao. And yung skill before, ano, sila yung, sabi nga nila, masters. So, sila lang yung yung linalapitan ng mga tao. Pwede naman sila mag-aral, wala naman sa batas sinabi ko nga na bawal silang mag-aral. Kaso nga, wala silang time. We don't have the time um, to study grammar, rhetoric, dialectic, logic. It's not that they can't. They just don't have the time to study. Kasi they have a business to run and a lot of people a lot of people need them. Kita mo kung walang skilled worker, anong mangyayari sa nobleman na yan? Anong mangyayari? Sinong gagawa ng ano nila? For example, sinong gagawa ng upuan ng mga nobleman? Sinong gagawa ng mga, for example, kung sira yung kubeta ng mga royal, saan tatay yung mga royal na yan? For example, oh, or or gayon. Natatawa ako sa joke ko. Pero ganun yon. Kasi yung mga masters, yung mga skilled doon, ganun sila um, ka, ano before, ka sought after. Kasi konti lang sila. Kasi mahirap yung buhay before. Wala silang power tools. Ganun. Ayun lang. Ay, oo nga pala, naka-record ako, no? Sasabihin ko sana wag mong sabihin sa iba. Um, um, so, kaya ganon. So, naisip nila, masyadong broad naman yung pag ganon, yung this, yes. Hello, you're not on the mic. Hmm. So, naisip nila na may masyado namang broad yung naisip nila na masyado namang broad yung they yung description ng fine arts. So instead they shorten it, or they from anything that pleases the senses, they what do you call it? They it's a tip of my tongue. They 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 put it into literature, visual arts, auditory, and performing arts. So so they so diba fine arts is very broad term. So from this, fine arts became anything that pleases the senses. And then from anything that pleases the senses, fine arts became literature, visual arts, auditory, and performing arts, where literature is your books, your poems, your poetry, your proses, and other things. And your visual arts are your graphic arts, plastic arts, and then your auditory is your music, radio drama, and then your performance arts are like theater, dance, uh, movies, and etc. And then from there, from here, sub there are other forms of art that also came up. So another branch, a whole classification branched out. So the kinds of arts became visual arts. Then there is your film, performance arts, poetry performance, architecture, dance, film, literary, theater, applied arts, which is your fashion, print, furniture, and there. So let me just skim through real quick what are your different kinds of arts. So visual arts are art forms that create works that are primarily visual in nature. Examples are ceramics, drawing, painting, sculpture, printmaking, design, crafts, photography, video, filmmaking, and architecture. So visual art are when you say visual, it is anything that uses your eyes. So this involves video, filmmaking, and then it also includes sculpture or ceramics. Then you also have your drawing, painting, and then visual arts. If you can see in this graph, It could also involve different kinds of um, what do you call it? Work. So, for example, you have teach or help. You have an art teacher. You have an art therapist, or a museum educator. And if you want to bring art to the public, you could be a curator, an art administrator, or a conservator. And then if you want to create art, you have your fine art or you have your graphic design or your design. You can be a filmmaker, a photographer, or a sculptor. And you could also be a painter, for example, here. And then design, you could be a graphic, industrial, and then an interior design. This is this lack. So there are other forms as well, but visual arts is not limited to here. This could branch out more, and that visual arts is grasped, is broad, and uh, uh, you could grasp of um, a lot of work if you want to go into visual art. If you do want to, you know, shift to another course, film. Film is a form of entertainment that enacts a story by sound and a sequence of images by giving the illusion of continuous movement. So, a short FYI for your information, the film started as a motion picture. It started from a small, a continuous picture, and then a flip, and then showed in a rapid pace of motion, and then that and during the 1970s, I think, if I'm not mistaken, and then it was or 1950s, I'm not sure, and then it was it amazed people, and that was the first motion picture. I'm not sure if it was a horse or if it was a man, but that was the first motion picture. So the first motion picture is also known a movie. It is a series of moving images shown in the screen. It is usually with a sound that makes up a story. Now, a movie is now we can watch a movie in a TV or in our laptop, uh, in our phone, in our iPad or a tablet, or almost everywhere. And you could actually download it. You could watch it live stream or downstream it. You can even upstream your own movie. Then you could also subscribe to different subscriptions. You have Netflix and, for example, or what else? Netflix, HBO Max, Go, Disney, and other things. So that's film and performance art. So, what is performance art? Performance art is a medium that challenges and violates the borders between discipline and genders, between private and public, and between everyday life and art, and follows no rules. So, performance art started late on the 19th and early 20th century. it started spontaneously on what movement was it? On a pop art movement. Um, I forgot what movement, but um, it was a good movement, and it was short lived for 5 years. One of the artists is Marina Abramovic. The one thing about performance artists is that she that the medium is her body. Sometimes she uses her body as a medium. Other artists like visual artists or sculptors, they use painting, canvas, paints, or mixed media to create an artwork. For musicians, for example, they use time uh, and sound to create music. For cooks naman, they use um, food ingredients to create food, for example. Um, Performance art is different. The medium here is time, space, and the body. Sometimes they also use smell, the science of smell, touch, and visual, or the five senses, to create a performance art. So sometimes there is even a sixth sense, but um, ayun. I will just play it and please listen. This is just for 1 minute. Let me know if you hear it.
I could say the performance is the moment when the performer, with his own idea, step in his own mental and physical construction in the front of the audience in particular time. This is not a theater. Theater you repeat. Theater you play somebody else. Theater is a black box. Performance is real. In the theater you can cut with a knife and there is a blood. The knife is not real and blood is not real. In performance, the blood and the knife and the body of the performer is real. It's very hard to make a strong, illuminating, work of art. I'm only interested in the idea I'm really fear about. A really interesting idea who will change something or or make me learn something. If you do things you like or you have the pleasure, doing it, you never change. You're always in the same pattern and everything's happening the same way again and again in your life. Performance is the kind of unique form of art and it's very temporary and comes and goes. And in every society, it's different relation to performance. In the 70s, it was body art and then disappeared completely. In the 80s, because the market was all focused on goods and was something to sell and was nothing to sell with the performance. It was just memory. Every time the economical crisis in the world, performance become kind of evident. I don't expect of audience anything for myself. It's expectation to be there 100%. I expect to be absolutely whatever I do 100%, and then it's up to audience how they take it or not. And I like them to be present because the work is done for the audience. Without audience, the work doesn't exist. It doesn't make any meaning.
What do you mean, Ulay and Marina?
Ano ma'am, yun po yung si Marina Abramovich when she, um, ano ba, her parang ex niya kasi si Ulay na performance artist din. Tapos yun,
Ah,
parang they had this very, very messy na relationship. The very messy, na parang it affected the performance art scene din. Tapos parang Marina had this performance art na she let anyone sit in front of her. And ayun, umupo yung si Ulay or si Ulay. Tapos parang at that point, they were broken up na. Tapos parang it was a very emotional it was very emotional seeing them. Tapos parang kasi yung performance art ni Marina in particular at that time, hindi siya nagsasalita. So parang yung moment nilang dalawa, wala, parang nagtitigan lang sila. And parang they were very close to tears. Wala lang. It was very moving.
Yeah, it was also a very, very good ano, um, performance art. Like I've been reading about that performance art, that particular performance art of hers na about sitting. Kasi she went on tour for that, right? And um, she went on tour for that. And then, ano kasi, ang tawag dito? Um, After that, parang a lot of people went to see her. And then, um, ayun, a lot of people went to see her. And then, some people cried, some people, you know, and it's just bizarre on how people reacted to her. She just keeps staring. Ganon. But yeah, it's so weird. But at the same time, would you even do that with your ex? Like, just look, just stare at each other, and you know. But yun naman talaga yung ano yung performance art niya, to just sit there, you know. Yung plano niya talaga for that performance art is just to have a table and then have anyone sit on have anyone sit on ano with her for how many minutes. Tapos ayun, some people would like line up for her and sit for her for hours and just stare into her eyes. They cannot do anything, they cannot talk. They can only stare to her eyes. Ayun. And then ayun lang. There is even one performance artist who I forgot her name. She's Asian. Was she Asian? Sorry, my throat is getting dry now. She went to this. She's into the gallery. Maybe it was also Marina. Um, she has scissors in front of her. Um, she had anyone scissors in front of her, and she had people had dared to, you know, have do anything to her, and she won't do anything. People would like cut her clothes and stuff. I don't know. And then when she finally stood up, people were scared. People even threatened her and that she was not allowed to do anything and stuff. So people tried to scar her, tried to bruise her with the scissors and all. And she was near to tears of how horrific people were. And she was like honest, you know, she didn't thought that people were she would do that. People would like maybe it was a man was, you know, suddenly wild about her. But after that, I know she stood up after that time was passed for her to break. Kasi there was a timer on a break. So parang when the performance was up, a time would be up. So the artist was allowed to take a break. So after the performance, she stood up and then she glared at the people. The people, ano, parang they were shocked and then all took a step back. So parang it just proved how when you're innocent or you're not allowed to do anything, people would like do anything to you. They could do anything to you just because you are not allowed to fight back. But if you will fight back, people would be scared. So, ayun lang. I don't know about rhythm all. I don't know really. But yeah, there are a lot of performance art that are also good. Not only about Marina, but a lot of performance artists also. There are even nude performance artists that I know, even here in the Philippines. I personally know one. I even how about this one? If you know him, Paul Soberano. Paulo Soberano. So if you know about this one, poetry performance, this is kind of new. So, poetry performance is poetry that is specifically composed for or during a performance before an audience. So, it is like speech making, but it's not speech. It is poetry, but it is something like um, a theater kind. There are sometimes expression involved, there is like drama involved, sometimes there are music involved, so it's like acting but in poetry. Sometimes if the artist is not feeling grandiose, pwede namang parang wala, especially if the artist has a lot of charisma. Ganun. So performance poetry originates from an early press release describing the 1980s performance poet Hedrick Korsky, whose audio recordings achieved success on spoken word radio programs around the world. Oh, poetry performance is also called spoken word poetry, if you heard about that. Performance poets relied more on the rhetorical and philosophical expression in their poetics than performance artists, who arose from the visual art genres of painting and sculpture. So let me, um, mm, okay, I cannot. What's this? Wait lang. Let me, wait lang ha. Mm. Sorry, I cannot play. Wait, 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 wait. Talk, 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 talk. I don't know if you watched this already. Can you see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Ang huli ko lang, may susulat ko para sa'yo. Pangako yan. At totoo, hindi ko alam kung magiging gaano kahaba kung kaso pa sa isang biyasa ng bahay na ilang minuto ang magtatagal at yung haba nito. Kaya posibleng hindi ko agad makabisado. Pero pangako yan. Ito na. Ang huli ko lang. May sulat ko para sa iyo. Itagana sa barko. Abutin man ako ng umaga dito, hindi ko ipipilit ang mga mata ko. Uubusin ko ang lahat ng salita na posibleng tugma ng pangalan mo o ng anumang tawag ko sa iyo. Mahal, sinta, iyo, panggap, babe, babe, asawa ko, mine, wifey, babe, kulit, kapal, hubal, walang yak, pugi-pugi, pinaka, ang para. Wala ko nang pakialam. Kung abutin ako ng ilang talata dito, pero hindi ko lang pwedeng patirahin lang dito sa loob ko. Ang mga salitang ito, kaya kailangan ko. Ito na, ang huling tula na isusulat ko para sa iyo. Magsisimula ako sa umpisa. Sa kung paano ninitiyan niya ako at tinanong kung saan ako nakatira. Hindi mo pinansin ang mga agam sa dingding. Hindi ka nga natinag sa ipis na biglang dumating sa iyong pagbisita, pero hindi mo rin man lang tinignan ang mga libro na nasa tabi ng kama ko. Natutulog din at tangi ko noong kapiling magsisimula ako sa umpisa. Sa kung paano niyakap mo ako noong sabihin ko sa iyong mahal kita. Sa kung paano hinalikan mo ako sa noong sabay-sabi ng mahal ka. At ako nakakang kita nga, tuwa-tuwa, dahil hindi pa huli inawan na ayaw ko na maging mahalaga. Ayaw ko na maging mahalaga. Hindi ako antigong salamin na matagal mo ng pag-aari na tinitignan na lang para ipaalala sa sarili mo na maganda ka. Ayaw ko na maging mahalaga. Hindi ako telepono mong tutukutin lang sa bulsa. Kapag kailangan mo ng solusyon, sa kawalan mo ng koneksyon, sa mundo mo masyado ng malawak para biglang atensyon ka pa. Ayaw ko na maging mahalaga. Hindi ako kwintas na isusuot mo lang sa piling-piling mga okasyon. Kapag mayroong mga sitwasyon na pakiramdam mo ay kulang ka pa, hindi ako para ibalik sa loob ng isang kahon. Kapag matutulog ka sa gabi, sa dapat na masakit ka sa yakap ko kung magwihimbing ka na o ibalik sa loob ng kahon at itabi sa sulok ng isang aparador sa takot na manakaw ako ng iba. Ayaw ko na maging mahalaga. Ang gusto ko ay mahalaga. Ang kailangan ko ay mahalaga. Kailangan ko na mahalin mo ako gaya ng kape mo sa umaga. Tanggap ang tamis at pait. Kailangan para sa init pero hindi isinasatabi dahil lang ng lamig na. Kailangan ko na mahalin mo ako gaya ng sarili mong opisina. Kabisado ako para saan ang ano. Kabisado kung nasaan nakatago ang alin. Kabisado ang mga tinatago kong patalim. Silbi, dumi, lihim, patalim, silbi, dumi, lihim. Kailangan ko na mahalin mo ako gaya ng unang sa gabi. Niyayakap sa ginawa. Sinasadalan kahit na mainit, binubulungan ng mga pinakatatago mo panaginip tayo ako na maging mahalaga. Ang kailangan ko ay mahalaga. At nagsulat ako naman hanggang sa mahalin mo. Kaya patawag. Pero magsusulat ako hanggang sa maulubos ko ang lahat ng salita na posibleng tugma ng pangalan mo patawag. Pero magsusulat ako para patawagan mo. Dahil minsan, may nakapagsabi sa akin na ang hindi raw marunong magpatawad ay hindi makapagsusulat, kaya mahal. So, pagkakataon ito, sa huling pagkakataon na magsusulat ako ng tula para sa iyo. Gumawa ka na isang sulat. Patatawarin kita, pero patatawarin mo ako. Patawarin mo ako sa hindi ko pagmahal at patatawarin kita sa hindi ko pagmahal. Patawarin mo ako sa hindi ko pananahimik at patatawarin kita sa hindi ko pagsasalita. Patawarin mo ako sa hindi mo pag-alis at patatawarin kita sa hindi mo pananatili. Patawarin mo ako sa hindi ko paglimot at patatawarin kita sa hindi mo sa akin pagpilit, mahal. Gumawa tayo ng kasunduan. Patatawarin kita, pero patatawarin mo rin ako. Patawarin mo ako sa hindi ko pagbitiw at patatawarin kita sa hindi mo pagkapit. Patawarin mo ako sa hindi ko paglayo at patatawarin kita sa hindi mo paglapit. Patawarin mo ako sa hindi ko pagsuko at patatawarin kita sa hindi mo pagsugal. At patawarin mo ako sa hindi ko pagkamuhi sa'yo at patatawarin kita sa hindi mo sa akin pagmamahal-mahal. Gumawa tayo ng kasunduan. Patatawarin kita, pero patatawarin mo rin ako. Para sa bakas, ay matapos ko na itong tula na masyadong nang matagal na nakatira dito at patawad kung magiging masyadong mahaba at marami masyadong buladas, pero pangako, huli na to, huli na to, huli na to. Magsisimula ako uli sa umpisa. Sa kung paano ninitian niyo ako at tinanong kung saan ako nakatira. Magsisimula ako uli sa umpisa. Sa kung paano ninitian niyo ako. Magsisimula ako uli sa umpisa. Magsisimula ako uli. Magsisimula ako. Ito na, ang huling tula na isusulat ko para sa iyo. Ito na, ang huling tula na isinulat ko tungkol sa iyo. Inayon, tapos na ako.
Do you like it? Ah! May echo ba? Pero nagustuhan niyo ba? Sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yes, it's so intense, di ba? Ang grabe lang. That's why it's one of the pinakagandang. That's why gusto ko siyang ipakita sa inyo. Anyway, what is an extemporaneous speech? Extemporaneous. I don't know what an extemporaneous speech. If it's the opposite of a spontaneous speech, then it is. But it's not spontaneous at all. But it's poetry. It's not a speech, it's poetry. And it's kind of long. Yeah. So, ayun. So, if you could see, the poetry has, it's like a prose, but it's like also a speech. It has a sort of flow into it, but you can see that there's an intonation, there's a tone, and you could also see that how the person delivered it. There is the person also delivered it. His name also pala is Juan Miguel Severo. Sorry, I confused it with another person that is way more older. And also pala ayun, the person also did a little hugot. So maybe he is. I have no idea if he is a sexual predator, but but this is the first one na sumikat siya. Maybe later on he became one. I'm not sure. But this is the first poetry performance na sumikat siya. From there on, I don't know. But you cannot base someone's art for, I mean, art is art. You appreciate art for what it is and not for the person. If you appreciate, if you judge the art as the person, then what is art, right? You shouldn't be biased. Yeah, that's true. Yun lang. But yeah, it it yun lang nga. It makes things biased if you know certain things about the person. And okay, let's go back. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 slides more. Anyway, there are other people that have um, that are also good. Also, don't say that someone is a sexual predator. Maybe he's just really unlucky in his love life. I don't know. Some people are, or some people are just really bad or gago. Oh, he was accused by people with it. Then maybe he is. But we can never know until he is proven guilty. What did you say? Sarah Kay and Phil Kay Dimple. Yeah. They're good also. So architecture, we have a lot good architecture here in the Philippines as well. Some dating back to Spanish era. And maybe kasi Spanish era kasi some of the before Spanish times nasira na. So Spanish era. So ayun. Architecture, we also have good architecture here, but um, art architecture in definition is the art or practice of designing and constructing buildings. Architecture is the general term to describe buildings and other physical structures. The art and science of designing buildings and some non-building science. So, ayun, just like this one. It is how you design a building. So, the style of design and method of the construction of buildings and other physical structure. So, architecture is different from civil engineering, industrial design, and ano yung isa? Kasi architecture is more of the design. So, architecture works with different materials, different construction building method, ano yung mga physical structures, for example, and yung coherent structure, paano yung 3D structure, paano i-unify. Tapos, pinag-aaralan din nila kung anong klaseng style yung design ng um, structure, for example. So there are architecture knows something a little bit about periods also. So architecture also involves a little bit about other people They also have Bauhaus, Dada, other periods of, I think. They also have classical, for example, yung Roman architecture na may columns. Ayun, that's what I know. And yung Bauhaus, yung parang may ganon. And then you also have Gothic styles na madaming na high yung ceilings. Ayan. Like, katulad ng mga sa cathedrals. Ganun. So, there are different styles of architecture. So, they, that it also involves in designs but they also, other than the design itself, they also study it mathematically on how, for example, this structure is going to hold up. Like, for example, how the weight is going to hold up mathematically, for example, and how is it going to balance. Ganun. And then dance. You have different kinds of dance styles. It's going to different. So I'm just going to play it. So you have your jazz, and then I'm going to ano na lang. You have your Bollywood. Music, no? So dance here is the movement of the body in a rhythmic way. Usually sometimes to music and within a given space for the purpose of expressing an idea or emotion to release the energy. So sometimes dance could also be involved in theater, especially if it is a musical play. Sometimes it could also involve in performing arts or a performance art. Sometimes it could also be um, involved in a film, for example, especially if it's a musical. But also it could also be involved in an art therapy, for example. Kasi dance could also be a form of self-expression and kind of self physical release. It is a form of self-expression, but in a way of physical release. And sometimes dance could also help loosen yung mga muscles. For example, for the sports people. For example, kasi when you do sports, it could make the muscles very, very stiff. So, going to dance classes can help loosen yung stiff muscle. Pero yung stretching could also do that. But dance could make it faster and more fun. Yun lang. So, but dance kasi, it's much more fun kasi it does not only strengthen and make yung reflexes more fast and loosen yung stiff na muscle. It could also help yung release of expression and also loosen yung physical release, and then it could also be one way to train yung basic form of expression and train how you can communicate using your emotion through body language. So dance could be also be a form of body language. Ayan. So um, literary is not hindi siya hindi siya nakulong sa literature. It could also be included with writing, studying, or a content with literature. So it could be any kind of quality or form. So when you say literary, it could be a writing with high artistic quality. It doesn't have to be a literature to be literary. But when you say literary, it could have literary devices like allusion, here, allusion, diction, alliteration, allegory, colloquialism, euphemism, flashbacks, foreshadowing, imagery, juxtaposition. So you can research more on this, or you might encounter this during your English lit class. Um, or if you are a major in English or literature, you could also um, see this also. This is an example. This is an example of atmosphere or imagery, for example, or allusion. So it was a dark and stormy night. In her attic bedroom, Margaret Murray, wrapped in an old patchwork quilt, sat on the foot of her bed and watched the trees tossing and the French zed lashing on the wind. So it it contained an imagery. So ayun. So another example is theater. So this is an example of Japanese theater. So this is an example of kabuki. Kabuki is Japanese theater. It contains white white painted ladies. But let me get back to you on that. So theater um, is also called dramatic arts. It is mostly concerned with live performances, and usually it is planned. There is a script, there is a coherent sense of drama. Ayan. So, ayan. If you could see. So, hindi siya spontaneous. There is a script. And then, meron pa siyang costumes. So, ayan.
Stage devices, and props,
So,
as well as specific plays, language, and acting styles, such as the mire, in which the actor holds a characteristic pose to establish his character. Originally, both men and women acted in kabuki plays, but eventually only male actors performed the plays, a tradition that has remained to the present day. Male actors who specialize in women's roles are called onagata. Two other major role types are aragoto, rough style, and wagoto, soft style. The act
So, ayan. So, just going to skim through. So, ay, so, um, ayun lang. If you can see, uh, yung kabuki, usually, traditionally, um, yung kabuki, they are usually played by men, and there are men actors na usually um, uh, they play women, and they perfected the roles, and they study the roles of women. So they are that's what they do, that's their job. So you could research more on this if you want to know more, but this is what a play is like. Ayan. There is audience and stuff. Yun lang. There is also Filipino theater. There are different kinds of theater, but in Japan, this is what they do. Yun lang. And then you also have applied arts. So applied arts could be from the word applied. It refers to the application of the artistic design to utilitarian objects in everyday use. Um, uh, these objects, they usually are very used often in a way that they are easily they are not seen as art, just like the clothes, your furniture. They are easily um, thrown out. They're easily uh, there are easy the trends come and go. So just like fashion, the seasons, there are fashion trends, the seasons come and go. Kung magbihis ng damit every day, and ganon. So, applied arts are like that. It is easily replaceable, and the trend is high, the demand is high, but also um, it is um, very it is what do you the commercial the price is also very very low. The sentimental value is also very very low. Ganun lang. So that's what's happened to fine applied arts, but it is still art. If you could imagine how you could bead up your clothes, you could mix and match your clothes, also your furniture, you could design them, you could draw on them, you could paint on them, for example. So that's how you could do your furniture, for example, um, even your house and stuff. Even your appliance, you could also do that without the design of your appliance. For example, um, if you don't design your appliance without the industrial designer, your electric fan would look differently. It won't look like that if an industrial designer won't set a color or a tone or a palette to your electrifying if you won't, if a designer won't, set a palette onto it. It might look all black or, well, look like pink, yellow, and stuff. So, you know, ayun, it is art. A designer use it. So that's the end of my slideshow. Do you have any questions for me? No? Guys, do you have any reactions? Violent. Wow, none, ma'am. Anong hindi po, ma'am? um, no questions. Violent reactions. Suggestions? None? Wala?
Wala na po.
Okay, so ito nga. So on February 9, I gave you on the reaction paper, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes po.
So, I was planning to give you our reaction paper for February 9, but I think I will not give you anymore. So that would be enough, I suppose. And then February 9, we will have a lecture. Wait lang. If you could see my screen. Can you see my screen? So
Yes, ma'am.
this is your classwork. Wait. I'm just going to stop the recording.